It's a pleasure to have Judy Thrasher with us on the podcast today. Judy will be joining us as a tutor with a selection of our maths classes and also iGCSE accountancy. And we're going to be talking about the accountancy in a little bit. Judy, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story?
Okay. So I'm a mum of six children and I'm home educating five at the moment. I've got an 18-year-old who's in sixth form about to do her A levels. And then my youngest is almost nine. Um, I've been homeschooling since the beginning. We did have a kind of a bit of an and ah when my youngest was coming up, well, sorry, when my oldest was coming up to school age as to whether to put them in school.
Hmm.
Um, but we ended up just our family circumstances at the time. It was much better to home educate. And then we just kept going with all the children. I have been tempted at times to put them in school, but by God's grace, I've kept going and I really enjoy it and I find it very fulfilling. Obviously, I have days when I don't, but generally, yeah, it's kind of what I feel called to do. And yeah, and I guess I just see motherhood as my career and kind of quite well invested in it. So, um, but from a kind of like normal kind of career perspective, um, I've I started off, I went to university to study maths, and I was quite set on becoming a maths teacher. I kind of loved school as a child, and just wanted to become a teacher when I was grown up. And I loved maths as well. So I did my PGCE after my degree. And initially I kind of enjoyed it, but then I don't know, I was feeling quite disillusioned with certain things and some the way that we were expected to teach and discipline issues and lots of things. And some things just came together that just kind of made it clear that I wasn't to finish my course. And so I quit about Easter time and I just didn't know what to do. It was kind of quite a shock for me. I'd kind of been set on this path. So I kind of just did some research in the university as to what do people do when they've done a master's degree. And there was some sort of like folder in the careers department and it talked to people who'd done master's degrees and what they were doing now. So I just noticed that most of them seem to have got into finance. So I thought I'll give that a go. And so after some time job searching, I did get a job working for the civil service, doing it was quite simple stuff, but I was preparing accounts ready for the auditors, and it was quite a nice wildlife project, and I kind of enjoyed it, and it was so relaxing compared to teaching. So yeah, uh, and then from then I kind of started working for a charity, a Christian charity, doing their accounts, which I really loved, and that was great. I did some other stuff for them as well. But then that all kind of wound up when I had my first child, and I just became a full-time mum. And then I was home educating for years and still am. And then my husband was working construction. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself now. Sorry, can you
Okay,
edit that bit out,
that's
Hannah?
okay. Don't worry. Um,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. It's interesting. There's a lot of parallels with my own kind of story. That when you started home educating, because we were similar. We had thought about home educating, we didn't know. And my eldest daughter, we've got seven children, my eldest daughter went to nursery for a year when she was four, because we really didn't know. And then at that time when everyone was putting their kids into or applying for primary one, it was like, no, this is not what we want. Home education is what we want. But I think it's so common for a lot of families when they're weighing that decision up. It's such a big decision. What do you do? And to home educate is such a huge step of faith and countercultural that the actual decision to say, yep, this is what we're doing is a tough one. So yeah, I really your story really resonates with me. Um the that you're saying there and it's similar with the maths degree. I did mathematical physics and I didn't always want to go into teaching, but didn't know, but wanted to teach. But ended up my daughter was born, didn't I didn't end up going to the classroom, but I think that uncertainty of looking at the school system and thinking, I'm not sure if this is for me, but feel that love of teaching and the subject. Um, yeah, it's interesting the parallels between our stories. So as a home educator, you did start to work as a bookkeeper. Was it something that you'd always wanted, or did it come more organically?
I can't really fully remember how it all got going. And I didn't initially set out to do it. My husband was working in construction and he was self-employed and he was on various contracts. And most of the time they would be self-employed contracts. And he'd have to send invoices or well, actually sometimes have to send invoices for one of his jobs. So I just kind of got involved through that and I'd create his accounts and do his tax return um, every year. I mean, it was a steep learning curve
Mhm.
at the very beginning, but it was quite simple to do. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. I did then take a break. Well, I kept doing that for him, but then I started tutoring maths, and I did that for a while and quite enjoyed it. But then we needed a more regular income coming from me, so then I ended up um, not tutoring and working for a cable laying company doing their books, and that was kind of fully remote at home, and it actually was a really good fit
Mhm.
um, for my family life. And it was surprisingly, I think when I was quite nervous when I'd said yes, have I made a mistake in doing this? But it worked really well, and it was such a blessing, that job. It was kind of sad in a way because it was a maternity cover and the lady wanted it back. But yeah.
Think, yeah, you're right. It's a great job for mums, for home educating mums, for stay-at-home mums, as a way of making extra money, being at home, and working that, being able to earn but be there at home with their kids and working that round the needs of home education and family life. Um, I know as myself as a business owner, I have grown in such respect for accountants and bookkeepers and anyone to do with anything with finance. Um, because I don't, although I've got a maths degree, I likewise, my husband was self-employed first, and now got my own business and I'm self-employed, and taxes and bookkeeping just doesn't do it for me. Every time I see the tax, need to do the tax returns and have to sign on to the HMRC website, it just the panic rises. It just makes me feel so. I just like I don't like it in any way, shape, or form. I hate doing tax returns. It makes me so nervous. And any bookkeepers and people that do this, I have massive respect for, and I can see why your job is very important. In saying that, I think there's a real need for Christian bookkeepers, accountants, and Christians who have a deep understanding of finance. Would you agree? And what can believers bring in the business and finance world that those without faith can't?
Um, yeah. Oh, I don't know a huge amount about the need within Christians because I haven't had a need within accountancy. I haven't had enough experience maybe in the different kind of or working in practice um, to comment on that. But I definitely think Christians do have something they can bring into the profession. I mean, we've got to bring in integrity and honesty into the profession, which are key values of AAT, the body that I trained with. They want integrity, they want objectivity, they want people to not be prejudiced in the decisions they make, they want confidentiality, and they want professional behavior. These should be all Christ-like characteristics that we should be seeking to bring naturally anyway into our lives. And so as a Christian in that profession, we'll hopefully be blessing the company with those kind of qualities. I'd also just say, I mean, it, it can be quite tough, I think, when you're working for a secular organization as well. There's going to be the pressure to maybe let things slide or to not follow the regulations and the rules, or to kind of let suspicious things kind of just kind of go under the radar. But I would hope as Christians we're going to bring in that sort of integrity and want to do things properly and follow the rules and stand and I guess help the government in that sense to bring that into the workplace.
I
Yeah,
think
but I also think, sorry, go on.
sorry, I was going to say that I think with money particularly, it's such a difficult subject within the church, and
Yeah,
but it's something we all need to be grappling with, and have
yeah,
a good understanding of finances and how to be wise with money. And so it's not
yeah,
there's a risk that we become all consumed and we have this love of money, but then the other opposite of that is I'm not going to have anything to do with money, and but that's also not wise because we're not stewarding it right. So
yeah,
being able
definitely.
to have that, we're saying that integrity and that understanding of how finances work is so key.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We need to be running our businesses well, in a way that we can then steward the money and help the Lord with it as well. And I admit, like that was something I think I had to learn. That you kind of have this temptation that we shouldn't seek to make a lot of money. And I'm not saying we should seek to make a lot of money. Sorry, we need to cover our costs and we need to provide for our families
Mhm.
and we need to yeah, and that's all part of running a successful business. If you're running a business, that yeah, you can't sorry, I'm trying to think what I'm saying. Yeah, you can't oh, how can I put it? Yeah, you can't always run a charity, basically. You've got to
Yeah.
make ends meet, you've got to be running things well. And you want to bless a company as well that's
Mhm.
seeking to do that, even if they're not a Christian company or even if they're
Yeah.
a secular workplace, you want to help them.
And
Yeah.
obviously, if businesses are doing well, they're providing employment for people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's paying wages for families so that they can pay their bills, pay their mortgages, and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these things. It's so interesting that the I've heard a number of sermons talk about how often Jesus talks about money is a lot, surprisingly a lot that lots of his parables are linked to money and the warnings, but also about stewardship. It is such a key be able to understand, have a healthy relationship with money and finance and work is key to a good, strong Christian life and work ethic.
Yeah, yeah, and you can serve the body of Christ as well
Mhm,
as an accountant or a bookkeeper, just coming
mhm.
alongside those Christians who might be running an Etsy shop or something like that, and they just need help navigating the rules and a bit of a hint here and there, just how to do that really and
Yeah.
provide for their own families.
Mhm. Even if you look at the 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 forms for doing a tax return on a relatively small business, they're complicated and
Yeah,
really quite intimidating. That if you're not sure what you're doing, it can cause a lot of stress because you don't want to get it because getting it wrong has serious real consequences.
it
And
does.
for having for business owners, for even just a small self-employed person, having somebody they can trust and be able to say, I don't know what I'm doing, can you help me? Um, is really important. And letting anybody into your finances and laying everything bare. Here's all my finances, here's all my receipts, here's all the having that intimate understanding of the operations of your business is actually a really vulnerable place. It's a place of great trust when you're letting an accountant or a bookkeeper in to see everything laid bare, whether you're a self-employed individual or a small company or a charity or a church. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
the
Church
role of a
songs.
bookkeeper is one of it's a place of trust, and you're getting an insight into the inner workings that nobody else does. And and I think that's having Christians in those positions is just so key for Christian businesses, charities, and churches. And there's so many different rules now for charities and churches that it used to be. I remember when growing up, my dad was the treasurer of our church growing up, and he would go to the business meetings. It was more a case of just making sure the books kind of balanced out, and he was mathematical, and it was fine. But today, been a church treasurer is actually really quite complex with all the different rules that come with running a charity and the auditing of books. It's not something that or it depends on the church, but a lot of churches, the little person who's good with numbers can't just take on that role as much as maybe 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
we want to get it right as a church as well. We don't want
yeah, yeah,
to. Yeah, yeah,
definitely. Getting it wrong is a cost. Even obviously, a lot of people can make mistakes because they just don't know. But these mistakes are costly, and yeah.
yeah.
You will be starting tutoring iGCSE accountancy after the summer. Can you share a little bit about this course?
Yeah, so just as a very basic summary, it's going to be sort of a mix of learning about business and getting an opportunity to do maths in a real life context and do some problem solving.
Mhm.
So we're going to be learning about the different structures of the business and how they legally need to operate. Also, maybe what would be the best business structure for different types of businesses. Obviously, learning how to do accounts, professional ethics, which we alluded to earlier. How you're going to be how you'd be processing orders and invoices and balancing your books to make sure they're right and correct and everything. Dealing with assets, because you've got assets appreciate over value, and then that affects the business and the viability of the business, things like that. Um, Dealing with how you handle when people don't pay invoices, and how that affects the books.
Mm.
And yeah, just learning to report on how a business is doing, which then is going to lead into decisions on how to run the business better, things like that. So I think it's going to be a good introduction to accounts at the right level for a teenager to grasp.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good course. Anybody who, it might not be that you're looking to maybe do accounting or bookkeeping, but if any teen that's interested in business at all, it's going to
Yeah,
give them a really good foundation on the practicalities of managing money in a business setting.
yeah,
And yeah.
yeah. There are some children or teenagers out there who just are running a little business themselves now, or they like the idea of doing it, or yeah, it could be right up their street as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things with you're absolutely right. So many teenagers, they want to run a business or they've got little business ideas or little side hustles. And it might seem the bit of it's not the cool thing about creating a product or creating a business and all the fun, exciting part of that, but it's the nuts and bolts of the practicalities of what will build a successful business in the long term,
Yeah,
getting the finances right. For and there's always going to be those teens who are thinking this is actually a viable career choice, whether to go into big business or to be that thinking about looking for to build something that you can do from home and around family life. And it's just it's a really good solid course that gives a good foundation for all of these things. Um,
yeah.
As always, if anybody has any questions about the IGCSE accountancy course, please send us an email, arise@arisehomeeducation.com, and we can pass it on to Judy, who will be able to answer it. And yeah, Judy, it's really exciting that we have you on board. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.